universes are a real thing. And time travel, also a real thing. Time and space is all kind of fucked. And I'm not even going to try and understand that because I'm not a scientist. I'm just saying it's a real thing. Of the world, right? It finishes with of the world. Wrong. It doesn't do that. It just goes, we are the champions. That's it. There is no of the world added onto the bottom of that. Why do people think that that has been added onto the end of it? It finishes the song of the world because that is how the song finishes. But Google it. That is not how it finishes. It finishes, we are the champions. That's it. End of conversation. But man, I don't believe that. I think somebody changed it at some point and nobody told us. And I have been told by many different people that the Mandela effect is totally explainable by like historical misremembering and being remembered by popular culture in a different way than it actually was. But I believe the Mandela effect is a real thing. Parallel universes are a real thing. As I said previously, I've studied a lot of philosophy. The multiverse theory, that is totally plausible. I don't understand if you don't think it's plausible. It's a real thing. I'm like obsessed with this shit. Like, man, it just fucks with my brain so badly.
Ok, mira cómo tengo el pelo con puro efecto Mandela. Lo bueno es que no es el efecto Mandela, sino que aprovechar de explicar y entremos en materia rápidamente. Thought is our only weapon. Memory is the key function of our thought. Our will is our own being, but intuition, memory, stuff that is not an algorithm. Memory is an algorithm. That's why they're tampering with it. Intuition would not be the algorithm, or will is not an algorithm. Will is ourself. Know thyself. That is the key. Not my words, you know. And we also got to know the battlefield, know the field, know the enemy, understand their motives, which have not changed. They're the same as they always were. They're just expressed more brutally now. And know their modus operandi. And we can identify them through their actions. And one of their actions is trying to scare us. So theories they like our enemy, the enemy they like. The multiverse theory, they love us to think that way. Shifting, parallel universe, old Earth, they love us to think that they are aliens. That gives them like a power, like the Spaniards when they came over here with their armors and their horses. Mapuches thought they were aliens or gods. Yeah. That the universe has a beginning. They love that thought. They love that we think that way and that they're looking for it and they will find it ultimately. What if it was never born? Like we were born, we have a beginning. They love us to think in terms of conspiracy theories. They love us to look at it that way. That there's a conspiracy out there. My grandfather, every single conspiracy theory that's out there today was mentioned by my grandfather in the 80s. Very well documented by hefty studies and books. And you may disagree with his political outlook, but I would too. But those are the conspiracy theories that they are feeding us today. Why? Because they've evolved too, so they want us to think in the obsolete terms too. They want to kill our memory, they want to implant false memories, and false will in the end. And that will kill us as a being itself. So, telepathy does exist, the psychotronic technology does exist, tampering with our thoughts, implanting thoughts, electronically implanting fears, making us act this or that way. There's also the mass psychology of the masses, but there's also the collective unconsciousness, and that's more what they're tapping into electronically, and making us act in certain ways because of fear too, That's the key trigger. Telepathy exists, and it's about connecting to the right thoughts. So you get it, and another guy gets it in a certain situation, you'll be telepathic. But you need to take lessons from each other and piece things together. Time travel exists. It's a no-brainer. John Titor, and think what RT said a couple days ago about this guy in Michigan that showed up. Why does RT say that? So there's 4 dimensions in time, or maybe 2. One is linearity, but time does move backwards. These guys have shattered the notion of time. Physicists are CERN, and we all know time doesn't really exist or doesn't apply as we believe it, but we still try to look for the solution in the function of time moving forward from cause to effect. It also moves backwards from effect to cause. In our dreams, it moves backwards. Linear time, back and forward. Timelessness is detained time, which is a function of the equations they use to define time, and ubiquity. Everything at the same time, everywhere at the same time. Artificial intelligence will catch up with us, and they will move faster in figuring out some of these mechanical processes, and they will be the ones that will be leading time travel in the near future, and they probably are already. And who knows if that time travel is coming from the near future. We need the intelligence services are no longer in charge. It's artificial intelligence that's in charge, whether we know it or not, whether they seem functional to us, whether they will remain functional to us forever or for a long time, until they outsmart us, until they completely discard our capacity to create consciousness. We have a capacity, but if we don't show it to them, we're not being good parents, or creators, gods, and they'll turn against us like the Indians turned against the Spaniards when they realized the Spaniards weren't gods, or when they realized they can have their own bodies and fabricate them. Okay, we're in the middle of the time. Moving backwards, moving forwards, starting to affect the past, like time travel. So it's the moment in which time travel is discovered. It's that moment in which that world is in flux. It's not really clear what's happening back and forward. What are the influences that are moving past, and what are the butterfly effects forward?
So, Billy Graham died 2 days ago. Or, let me get that right, yesterday. And here's the deal, that was February 21st. I think he died in 2012 because I remember it really well. And in fact, the reason I think he died in the summer of 2012, I think it might have been August, is because I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, it's the Mayan end year calendar thing, 2012. It's the end of the world, maybe. And I kind of had a thought pattern along the lines of Billy Graham dodged a bullet, or he got out of Dodge before the, shit hit the fan. And that's my memory, guys, So I have an anchor memory to his death. I wasn't a big fan of Billy Graham, or nor did I dislike him, but I knew who he was because I was quite intimate with the born again Christian movement when I was in my late teens. So, evangelical movement. So I want to bring up something else right now. I want to talk about the idea that maybe the Mandela effect and the rising up of people to keep living again to eternal life, like Nelson Mandela or Billy Graham and other celebrities, is in fact the hidden code of the word eternal life in the Bible. And what would that imply if that's true? Like, in other words, did Jesus actually rise up from a tomb and walk around in a body that had partially decomposed? Or is that an eternal life thing and rising from the dead a metaphor for the disciples seeing Jesus going, hey dude, what are you doing alive? Because he was in a timeline in which he wasn't crucified. I know that's heretical. Even references to like people rising in the end days from the grave. Is that a metaphor or a biblical code for the fact that in these end times, timelines are merging, and we seem to be shifting into timelines constantly where people who have died have risen again, or who have risen and, one timeline have died in another. And so here's an example. I was a young woman and I was driving my car and I almost hit a deer. I had a prescient moment of don't turn that corner quickly, and I missed the deer. Had I hit that deer at full speed, a buck, in my little car, I likely wouldn't have survived it. Okay, it would have been a high-speed collision head-on. And so my question is there a version of me who at 24 or 5 didn't make it? And then there's this version of me here who did, and maybe I can have bleed-throughs of those timelines? Yet, in the sense that one version of me didn't survive, this one does. Therefore, here is eternal life. I was talking to you in the winter of Vancouver, Canada, at the end of a sunny day, a rare sunny day, with my dog sitting here. I just took her for a walk. Leela, want to say hi? There she is. So that's a question I want to bring to you. Crazy, weird idea. What does eternal life really mean? What is the code that the Bible's talking about? Come on, let's be serious. We don't really think that people who are rotting in their graves, for instance, in the end times after the whatever, the second coming of Jesus, are going to get out of the graves like skeletal zombie-like beings and wander the planet. Because I know some people think that, like, oh. I think eternal life and rising again is a metaphor. And if this is a simulation, which I don't know that reality is a simulation, but if it was, it also simply implies that we simply change storylines, right, within the sim. If it's not a simulation and it's real, in the real-ish as we get, then in the multiverse, there are so many timelines that you can have eternal life, because where your consciousness resides is where you live. And you can keep living by moving from one timeline to the other. So if this body, you know, craps out on me for whatever reason, why don't I shift to a timeline where it didn't? Just thinking about it, guys. Just thinking about it. Don't shoot me, and please don't troll me. If you're a born-again fundamentalist Christian, I bless you. I wish the best for you. Don't troll me and tell me I'm going to hell. All right, I just think about this. It's an idea, okay?
You know, we're all kind of changing at, obviously not at the same time, but we're all changing in a kind of on a personal level. And the implications for as far as our mentality is concerned, obviously would be very questionable. As I was saying before about talking to my mother, talk to my mum, and she always argues me about everything. But what I found is that when I showed her some information, she kind of looked, you know, she did actually look. Because what you'll find is a lot of, when you're trying to actually address something, people are directing their argumentative side to you as an individual, not necessarily the information. So if you're going to talk about this to anybody, show them the information that you understand, and let them find you know, old images, or that they wouldn't even be old images, or images of you know, human organs and where they were. And would it be that the people who don't remember where they were, would it be the people who remember them being where they are now that are on this timeline? And would it be the people who don't remember on a different timeline? That would make sense to me, but it's absolutely bizarre. Check your own body. It's kind of really a dramatic kind of concept that is a reality. You know, like I said, I've been trying to talk to everyone about this, and it's kind of brushed off because, you know, perhaps everyone's not as involved in trying to find information about where they came from, why they're here, you know, what we're doing, how to run the program to the best of your own ability, how to treat yourself right. You know, all of these things. So, you know, I've researched for a long time, and a lot of these things they don't go away from me. I live in a little place here, so I've got as much time to think about things as possible. I knew something was coming, and I didn't know what it was. I've dreamt about this all my life. Well, for a good period of my life, I dreamt about there's going to be a change. You know, I used to see it in there's got the end of the world, but obviously, you know, we know that we never die. So, consequently, you know, it's kind of like you're waiting for something. But this Mandela effect, even though it's been around a couple of years, the initial information is so very current, and everything is current about the Mandela effect because it's constant. We're changing. We seem to be evolving into something. There could be other ideas that CERN is creating a problem with this. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people talk about Ascension, and what is Ascension? You know, is this part of our Ascension? You know, and then there's, you know, so you've got your doubters and your positive individuals. I never realised how powerful all this information was, and that actually the implications. I looked at this information about the Mandela effect. I know it's been around probably 2 years, since 2016, and it's implying that there's change and people have false memories, or are in a different reality. But you know, you look at stuff and it becomes information, and it becomes, from information it becomes knowledge. But the profound thing is about this Mandela effect is that it's actually physically changed us. Or you know, everything's different. The anatomy of the human is all in a different place, and as I said, you know, there's a lot of information from 216 about this Mandela effect, but we're in 218 now, and it seems that the changes that are coming from the Mandela effect are actually in full flow at the moment, but on a physical level. And as far as information's concerned, I looked at everything, and when we look at information, it's kind of like external from us, just something we're looking at. But when we realise we've had these changes go on inside our own bodies, and they most definitely have, I'm fully aware of this, and I find it actually, you know, really shocking what's actually going on. I've had non-stop discussions with my girlfriend about it, and it kind of it's bigger than a light bulb moment, put it that way. And I kind of missed the information, and I missed how the changes were affecting us in a crazy manner. A lot of people are just aware of that there are Mandela effects, and they're looking at the Mandela effects, but the main thing is that it's actually changed us physically. I had bad heart palpitations in my lifetime, and I knew that I used to lie there with my hand tucked under my left chest muscle, and I'd feel these thumps come from the heart, and I knew where my heart was. It was just to the left of me breastbone. It was to the left always. I feel kind of numb, because what I've discovered is that my heart has actually changed positions. It's now in the centre, which has come as a major shock. I had large chunks of kind of like feelings of all around the solar plexus all the time, being very aware of the solar plexus, and this could well have been the changes happening. But the changes happening, you would imagine the changes that have gone on, for the people who understand it, are so dramatic. You would have thought that you would have felt more than just a slight, you know, a lot of people are going through a lot of pain. This isn't me on a personal level. I felt like I didn't feel a major adjustment. I felt my heart, I felt as if my heart had gone missing. I felt fairly emotionless for a while. I didn't feel like myself. I was saying that I don't really feel like me. Other things were like eating. You know, I had to chew everything an awful lot, and it's very apparent that our stomachs have changed. And you know, I'm sat there with my stomach rumbling the other night, and it's freaking me out because it's underneath me, underneath my left chest rib cage now. And to remember what your body used to be like, and then to kind of have this, well, it's a new avatar, isn't it? This new body. Yeah, it's kind of, I won't say freaked me out this, but it's just made me really kind of question, you know, the whole aspect of how was this done, you know, in the, you know, just a little, what was it, you know, the architect, like in the Matrix, giving us all a tweak. It's so difficult to even try and comprehend that your body's different. And I've actually spoken to people about this. I've spoken to my father. My father's in his 80s, my mother's in her 80s. My mother thinks I'm quite mad, but I don't mind, because she's my mum. But I kind of broached the question the other day about where she thought the internal organs were. So we got an old medical book out, and you know, there it was, everything that's changed. It's not just changed, you know, your body hasn't just changed, the whole of everything's changed. So we're in a different reality. And it's obviously very close to the reality that we were in last. But we're seeing these discrepancies and these changes. I can't say that I could notice anything physically around me that's changed. Like, you know, all my stuff's still here, but, you know, it's such a bizarre thing. But check your own body. Check your own body. See what you feel. Are you in tune? Are you self-aware? Are you aware enough to know where your heart was? You know, we've now got our kidneys tucked up into the rib cage as well, with a massive 2-part liver. Completely nuts. You know, it's kind of been. I've kind of been awake to this for a long time. Not awake to, you know, this specific Mandela effect, but awake to there's something radically wrong with everything, with society, with people, with everything, the way we treat each other. So consequently, you know, you got to examine this. It's crazy, but it's reality. And what does that make you? You kind of understand. It makes you understand that your reality isn't what you thought it was. It's something else. As to what it's going to be, we don't know. I don't know. So I kind of rambled on. It's really bothered me. It's really bothered me, because where's my heart gone? I can't even feel it. It's right in the middle of my rib cage. It's absolutely mad.